Good morning. This is the Blaine's World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find us, I guess, elsewhere on my website, which is blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on different people and organizations in Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce Janice Vertucci Schreiber and Frank Calamaro. And guys, you can wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this.
All right.
Okay, so that's Frank on the left and Janice. And Janice is one of my favorite people in the area, and Frank I've just met. But I brought you on board to talk about something you're both involved in, very exciting, and that's production of Fiddler on the Roof. And Janice, that's going to be where's it playing and when?
It is playing at SART at Mars Hill, and it's going to be playing June 20th through June 30th. So that's those 2 weekends. And so that's Thursday, Friday,
Sunday.
yeah, Thursday through Sunday. Yeah.
Okay, and that's a tight schedule. And then you also, on top of that, you get in some matinees as well. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
How many matinees?
I think there's matinees on Sundays. Am I right? Or
Sunday?
There's one on Saturday.
Saturday
Yeah.
and Sunday.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay,
No
so-
matter, I'll be there.
Okay, but
You'll
that's,
be-
that must be tough. Well, I'll ask Frank, is that tough for you to do 2 shows in a day?
No. I was on the national tour of Fiddler, and we've done 2 shows. We've done a couple of 2-show days when I was on tour in the sit downs. So yeah, no, I enjoyed them. It's tiring, but we get through them. We had a great cast for the tour, and we have a great cast here. I'm just so blown away with the talent.
Well, also, what's cool about SAWT, what makes it very difficult for some people, is that you also have a very tight rehearsal schedule, right? You don't, like, some shows Janice knows are in rehearsal like for 5-6 weeks. At SAWT, Janice, how long are you in rehearsal for?
Oh, it's at the
Well, it's 2 weeks for the majority of the cast. It was 3 weeks for the local people.
Yes.
And I came in early so I could work with them because I like meeting people and not just walking in and kind of saying, I'm here, guys. But yeah, no, and I was blown away with the talent. It really is incredible.
And what SAWT does, which I think is great, Frank, is they tell people, hey, we only have a usually 2-week schedule, even 3-week schedule, but you have to come in ready to perform. You know, you have to know you report by then. Is that correct? When they come in first day?
By heart. What's that from?
Oh, and every part by heart.
What
You gotta be off book. I know that.
Yeah.
So that they can do the blocking and the choreography and concentrate on just that.
And Frank, since you're new to me, what I typically do when I have a guest for the first time is I want to find out more about you. And so as a kid, you grew up where?
In Middletown, Connecticut.
Okay, so you're a Connecticut boy. And
Right.
so as a kid growing up, did you always know you wanted to play Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof? Was that your goal as a kid?
No, I saw Fiddler on the Roof because I'm old when I was 13 and I went to New York. It was one of my first Broadway shows. And I remember sitting in the audience going, wow, that man is not good looking at all. I could do Broadway. But he was mesmerizing. And that's when I said, you know, I always sang. I sang from when I was 3 or 4 years old because I had a boy soprano. So when I saw a Fiddler, I thought, it kind of get a spark in me. And then I got into doing theater, and I did it in high school. And well, I was telling Janice, she says, what was your first role? And I go, my very first role was as Jesus in my first grade Bible story. And I did that. And then, like I said, I went to a Catholic school, and because I could sing, every time the bishop came to visit, I got pulled out of class. We need Frank to come, the bishop's here. So I would sing for the bishop. And then when I went to high school is really when I started the theater, working in the theater. And the first show in high school I did was Oliver. And then the next show was Fiddler on the Roof.
It's funny you mentioned your experience seeing Fiddler as a kid. I was a little older, I think, when I first saw it. I was really disappointed. I remember it like it was yesterday, Frank, that I was going to see Fiddler with Zero Mostel, right?
Yeah.
And then they come on and say, we have some bad news for you. Zero Mostel isn't available, you're sick or whatever. We have an actor by the name of Harry Goz, okay?
Oh,
And Harry Goz was pretty damn good, and he played Tevye for hundreds of, or if not thousands of times as well.
Harry Goss was the original Shem in 2x2, which I did, and I played that part. Yeah, so with that, Martin Charnin directed it, and he also wrote it. It was incredible. I worked with Walter Williamson, who was also in 2x2. He was Japheth, and he was nominated for a Tony Award that day.
It's interesting that it was one of his first shows to
Yeah.
see on Broadway. It was one of my first shows to see on Broadway, and I saw it when Bette Midler was in it.
Oh, that's right too.
But it's funny, so you have to give people, I guess, a chance. And I'll digress. It's nothing to do with Fiddler, but same kind of story, Janice. So you look to see a famous performer, like people are going to come to see your production, Janice, because of Frank's in it. That's why they're going to come to Frank. But years ago, I digress. I had tickets to a concert, and it was name's escaping me now. The singer, but anyway, he wasn't there. And instead, they had an obscure artist by the name of James Taylor in his place. And I thought to myself, he wasn't bad. He's half decent. But he, maybe. But here they're going to get a chance to see Frank Calamaro. So you were talking, Frank, about growing up. You had all these parts. And again, your first one was in Jesus. What was it? As Jesus?
First grade.
And what you were Jesus?
Yes, I was Jesus.
Well, that's hard to top that, though, is it?
That's what I said.
That's it.
I used to write that in my resume, boy. It's been downhill ever since.
Right, exactly. So then you acted in high school, you were in a bunch of plays, and then you decided to continue with it?
Well, then I went to college and I tried to concentrate on, no, after high school, I got invited to go to summer stock and work with Joe I can't think of his name. Joe Hayes. And he had a dinner theater in New Jersey, Surflight Dinner Theater.
Right.
And I worked there for a summer. And my friend in high school, we both went together, we roomed together, and we went to New York. And I said to my mother, give me a year, Mom. If I can't make it in a year, I'll come home and I'll go back to school. Well, a year to the day, my father drove his truck up to my apartment. Get in the car, you promised your mother a year. So that's what I did. And I went home and I went to Southern Connecticut and did theater there, but not until my junior year, because I was concentrating on my studies. I was in elementary education and psychology, and it was difficult because I never really gone away from home. I'm from a big Italian family, and my mother would go, "You need more kids? We got kids here. Stay home." So then I did theater. The first show I did in college was The Mikado, and it my music teacher, with the school said, "Frank, I need you to be in The Mikado." I said, "Oh, Jesus, doctor, I'm really busy with studying." He goes, "Your grade kind of depends on it." So I ended up playing Poobah in The Mikado. And then after that, they kind of called me every time they were doing a show and stuff. It was really wonderful. And then I graduated and got married and decided I had to concentrate on being married. And then I went back to school again because I was teaching for 2 years, decided I wasn't going to do that anymore. Went back and became a nurse, an RN. And I graduated in 81. So then after I graduated, I had free time. So I did a lot of dinner theater in Connecticut, a lot of community productions. And I tell the kids that I teach theater to, go to the theater, do as much theater as you can, no matter where it is. And that's what I did. And then I was lucky enough to meet a man named Max Showalter, who was a character actor. And he heard me sing and act. And he says to me, "Oh, you're wasting your time in Connecticut. You need to go to New York." So I started auditioning for shows in New York. And that's where I got my first national tour was Victor Victoria. I played Toddy, and it was hard because we had been married and we had just had started our family. So the kids were young, and Charlene really missed. I'd call her, she goes to me, "When you're coming home, I need an adult to talk to." We would call every night, but then I promised her I wouldn't do any tours for a while. So I did a lot of short runs, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 3 months. I went to Ohio and did Fiddler, and Janice and I did Fiddler.
Yeah, I think you really need to know it, like the history
Right.
of Fiddler for both of us, because Fiddler on the Roof has been part of 5 times in my life.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
3 times. I played Yenta when I was very young, 29. Then I played Yenta again at 50. And then so Yenta actually has been in my life a lot, and Goldust. So Fiddler has been part of my life 5 times, twice as a director, and then 3 times as an actor. And so this is the 6th time. Now, of course, he's done it far more than I have, but it's very special to me, has a very special place in my heart.
Yeah, Janice and I met in Kentucky, and Jenny Wiley when she was supposed to be Golda, but unfortunately had broken her leg or twisted her broke
No,
her
my
ankle.
ankle.
And the director said to me, Frank, you're Golda. I can't explain a Golda with a cane, but I can explain a Yenta with a cane. Doing Yenta, and the girl that was playing Yenta did Golda, and it was a good production. But that's when we first started to bond over Fiddler. We talk every night about things with the show and her history. She does a lot of research. This lady is a research maniac.
Right, I know it. I've seen it. Well, Janice, let me ask you this in terms of I ask all actors slash directors in terms of work you do you prefer acting or directing?
Directing.
Okay.
And that, it changed. For the longest time, I was an actor. It's just like I became a teacher quite by accident because somebody believed that I could be. And so I was asked to teach in the theater program at East Carolina University by the chair of that program. I thought he was like nuts. I'm an actor. And but I went to East Carolina. I graduated from that college, and so Edgar Lacine believed in me, and so then I loved teaching because there was a similarity in that getting up and coaching a student through speeches or and then when I got to teach intro to theater, that was great. And then eventually that teaching then led to, oh, come and direct it. Can you direct your, oh, yeah, yeah. And so then that led me into directing at the community theater level. And then I directed at the school level. And then really ultimately it became that I love directing more than acting, although I still love acting, but I really love directing. I love the challenge. It's a big challenge.
The reality, Frank, and a lot of people don't tell me this, but I'll ask many actors who have become directors, and they say just what Janice said, they prefer directing. And the reality is they don't have to memorize the lines that way, So, so anyway,
A lot more to directing. I directed one show and
they say
decided
that, right?
that wasn't for me. I'd rather be on stage and being told what to do and stuff.
Oh, really? So you prefer acting to
Yeah, I
directing?
prefer acting. I mean, I like character development and Janice is great at help. Like I said, when we were in Kentucky, we talked a lot about, and I would say to her, you're not supposed to give notes to each other, but I would ask Janice, what are some good ideas that we could do on our scene in the bedroom? We have that Fuma Sarah scene, and we would talk about things we could try, and then we would talk to Jim, who was our director, and he goes, yeah, all right, go try that. So we did it, and a lot of the stuff got incorporated into the show.
Well, I love something Janice did with a little local show she was involved in recently. And for the first time, a lot of people had never realized about this character development, So Janice would tell them to, think about this and write it down. And most people, Janice was the first for them because a lot of them were, had done a lot of acting. But Janice was really into that, which is great, so they really understood their roles.
Well, I love to trust actors. It's interesting because I'm a Barbra Streisand freak. When I was in college, a Barbra Streisand poster was up above my head.
Right.
And I reading Barbara's book, she talks a lot about trusting instincts of actors. And so I try my best to trust their instincts. And then if something doesn't work, directorially, visually for me, and then I'm going to fix it. But I like to trust them and then go from there. And that sometimes is time consuming. And so on our schedule, I have to be very, very careful that I don't get too involved in that regard as a director. I have to, yell at myself.
Remind me also, Janice, of your background. So you're also from Connecticut as well?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
And what's wrong with Connecticut?
No, Jersey, New
Okay,
Jersey.
Jersey girl, that's right.
Jersey City with New Jersey is where I was born.
So, what about your acting career? When did it start?
Well, it didn't. I was very, very self-conscious. My family knew I had a big mouth and that I could belt out a song. But I was still, I was in 8th grade when a music teacher, Lola Bevington, said, you can sing and you have a gift and you need to share it with people. You got to stop this nonsense. So in 8th grade, she said, you are going to sing this song in this choral work. I didn't really get on stage till I was 15 in high school. And I was cast as the mother, and I should have known then that I was a character actress. What did you do when you were a young girl? I want to play the ingenue. And so I didn't realize that character parts were fun. Let's play character parts.
Well-
But the next year I had to play the ingenue because I had nobody else.
The mother,
So,
what was the play?
and
The
yeah.
mother, what was the
So
play?
I wanted to go to the American Academy of Dramatic Art in New York, and my Italian mother said, no way, none, no, you are not. And you're going to go. I had a state scholarship, and she said, you are going to some school in New Jersey. Well, I didn't have counselors that could guide me to the great theater schools of New Jersey, because there are.
Right.
And so ended up, I went to Patterson State, which is now William Patterson. I didn't last. I pulled out. Let's just say I transferred 5 times until I landed at East Carolina University, and then I found my home. So that's the quick story of that.
And back to what you were saying, the very first role, you were the mother, you said, in a play, right? The mother at
I
15
was
years
the
old?
mama,
Right.
yes.
What was the play?
Oh God, it was called So This Is Paris.
Okay, because I have this idea, Janice, and I'll share it with Frank as well. But I've been wanting to do for the longest time, Frank, a fundraiser for any theater. It could be SAWT, it could be anybody else, where everybody would recreate their very first role, because like you were the mother at 15, you were Jesus at, whatever age, Frank. Do they have do they have a videotape of that?
No,
No.
there was no videotape.
But wouldn't that be cool though, if you could recreate it now and you could then have a videotape of it or a tape of it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting. I wonder if Sister Yolanda would come back and direct.
Oh, that's right. You were with nuns.
I was.
So anyway, so you then graduated from Carolina, you graduated, were you a theater major there or what were you?
Yes, I was a theater major there. And then my husband, Tony, he had to finish his master's degree. So the wonderful thing about East Carolina University was they had the East Carolina University Summer Playhouse, the Summer Playhouse at East Carolina, which was a professional theater company that was started by Edgar Lacine, who actually I became a teacher because of him. So that was actually an equity house. So the wonderful thing was that I could do stage work. I could still, and Edgar then would cast me in various shows, So the last thing I did before Tony got his job after his master's, and that job was out in Omaha, Nebraska, the last show I did was Bye Bye Birdie. In that performance. Then we left and went to Omaha. And in Omaha, somebody said, what you have to do is get on the Omaha Community Playhouse stage. The Omaha Community Playhouse is probably one of the premier community theaters in the country still. And I got on that stage and had to succeed in business without really trying. And that was it. And then I was a really working actor, worked in the bakery during the day, decorating cakes. And then I was a working actor. It was great. And we moved to Boston. And that was the time when I was working on my equity card and I was working at the Charles Playhouse. And that was direct. Remember Geraldine Fitzgerald?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, Geraldine Fitzgerald was directing the Threepenny Opera, and the Threepenny Opera was supposed to go to New York. And Ellie Stone, who did Jacques Brel, is alive and well and living in Paris.
By the way, bring that show to the area too. I love
Jacques
Jacques
Brel.
Brel.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love Jacques Brel so
Right.
much. I love it. But
Right.
and so in Boston, but by that time we had 2 children, and our house was broken into in Boston, and we decided that, and Tony wanted to get a different job, and a job came open at East Carolina University for him. So we moved back to North Carolina, and then I just became active at East Carolina as a teacher and a performer in the Summer Playhouse.
Let me put you on the spot. Out of all the shows you've done, aside from Fiddler, do you have a favorite role?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Mama in Gypsy.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my role of a lifetime. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And the same question again. Another show. SAWT did Gypsy several years ago, but another show to bring back to the area. Do you have it on your bucket list? Do you have a show you want to do?
On my bucket list?
Yeah,
Oh,
either
God.
perform or direct.
You know, it's so funny. I was thinking today, because of the message that Fiddler has, the universal message, the immediate message that Fiddler has, that is actually, is that it sits so well in our world right now, the messages that it
Right.
sent. Tevye comes out right at the very beginning, and Tevye says to the audience, you know, a fiddler on the roof. You know, it sounds crazy, but you know, hearing you know,
Fiddler is a universal show. I mean, everybody can relate to Fiddler. And I told when I was on tour, I had an interview, and I told the guy, I appreciate Tevye more every time I do the show because my kids are getting older, and my daughter started out as Sprinza and Bielka, and then moved up, and now she's got married. But it's just the father thing kicks in, and I saw the show in where I was in Spain, I think, or Portugal. I saw it in Portugal, and they did a Portuguese version. Didn't understand what they were saying, but I knew all the words, so I was singing with them. And I did see it in New York when they did the Yiddish version,
and
and it was incredible,
yeah,
incredible.
and so it's that to go back to my thought was that I actually went out to take the dog, and I'm thinking, and I go, you know, South Pacific. And I thought of the song in South Pacific, you've got to be carefully
Right.
taught.
Great. Yeah.
So, you know, to hate and fear, it's got to be drummed in your dear little ear. And I thought, yeah, let's do South Pacific because and so Fiddler has a very strong message of, you know, people who are, you know, people who are different
Right.
and not accepting people for their differences.
Roger and Hammerstein did a lot of shows like that. They were really kind of rule breakers. I mean, when they did South Pacific, and then they did what's the other show? For Flower Drum Song. There were no Asian musicals on Broadway, and
Right.
they were going to do Flower Drum Song, and it was a wonderful show. I mean, just there's a message in all the shows. When they did Oklahoma, I mean, the character of Judd is a vital part of the story, and just that whole unrequited love, and I mean, it really. Roger and Hammerstein, they were incredible shows, and Stephen Sondheim probably.
You got me thinking about it, Frank, so I digress. But I remember I took my daughter to Oklahoma, local high school production. It was one of the first shows she ever saw, and you know, we're in it. And then they have the scene where, you know, poor Judd is dead, and the people carrying him drop him, and you hear him groan, you know. And but the reality was Judd was really dead then, you know.
Oh, no.
So that's how I remember that show.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was the message my daughter got from that. That was the first show I think she ever saw. Poor Judd is dead. So Frank, the same question I asked Janice. Aside from Fiddler, do you have a favorite role you've done, or another favorite role?
Yeah. I did Isidore Straus in Titanic twice. And also 2 by 2 because I've done that. I did that 3 times. I was invited by Martin Charnin to do my part. He'd call me and go, Bubala, I need you to be my chef. So I would go to New York, and that's when I worked with Jason Alexander and Tova. And then the next time I did it was with Chip Zen, who should be nominated for a Tony Award for Harmony. He was amazing. And Kristen Petty, who's on Sirius Radio Broadway. And he redid the whole show in Tennessee before I did the jobs in New York. But Martin was, and my wife is, I'm proud to say, is Ruthie Ann Miles. She won the Tony Award for King and I, but she was 18 when she played my wife. And it was funny because we were old, and we sat around and we said, that girl's gonna be somebody someday. And she was amazing. And I saw her in The King and I mean, even in she's in Sweeney Todd
You
now.
tell Blaine who she played in King and I.
She played King and I. She was Lady Tiang. She won the Best Supporting Actor, Best Featured Actress award. She beat up some people that were seasoned veterans. I mean, you can YouTube her speech. She's probably the funniest person I've ever met. But she was 18.
But I'm listening to you, and it seems your Yiddish, Janice, Yiddish is probably better than mine. You know, all these shows you've been in.
I don't know, darling.
And your accent is better than mine. Last question back to shows, Frank. And by the way, bring Titanic. Boy, was that a great show.
I love Titanic.
Yeah. And I just saw the movie version of it played, you know, where they toured they showed the actual Broadway show.
Yeah.
It was great. Do you have another show you'd like to do you haven't done yet?
That I haven't done yet.
Yeah.
No,
On
I'm
your
pretty
bucket list.
In fact, I want to do different shows because I mean, I've done Fiddler, I've done Titanic twice, I've done, 2 by 2 3 times. There are other shows that I go and I'll go, I mean, the shows today are not, I don't see myself in them. The more, like, I'm more old school, like Oklahoma and Sound of Music and stuff like that. No, I'm open to anything that's new and exciting.
And one of the exciting things to me, Frank, is that you and Janice are then be doing Fiddler, because again, for a lot of people, it's hard for us to accept this, don't know it. You know, it's like we grew up on it and we heard it so many times, but especially
Nobody not knowing
Yeah.
this.
well, but you'll see, because again, where was I the other day? We were talking to somebody, and you know, you talk basic stuff and they don't know it, you know, so that if you're a kid, 17, 18, never saw the movie, never saw the show, you know, you won't be familiar with it. So I'll ask Janice, and for the benefit of the few people out there who don't know the show, if you give kind of the Reader's Digest summary, what it's about. But Janice, wait, but I have to ask you to keep it to under 2 hours. Okay, so and
Well, yeah, I actually, I wanted to share with you before the summary of we have some wonderful people that we're working with.
Yeah.
You know, there are just some wonderful young performers, and certainly our production stage manager, John O'Neill, is absolutely tremendous. And you know, we have the daughters, a few of the daughters are students at Mars Hill, at Mars Hill. And then you know, we have a young woman, Samantha Resnick, who's playing Zeitel, and model is Matthew Harper, who has done,
okay, oh, great.
you know,
Yeah.
Matthew
Matthew
Harper,
very well.
right?
I'm so glad he's back in the
And
area.
Will Ezell is going to be in
It's
this,
gonna be
you
Perchik.
know, yeah, it's going to be Perchik. And let me think, help me out some more.
Well, some of the people you mentioned, let me ask you this, Janice. You mentioned
Yep.
names. Now, had some of them not been familiar with Fiddler or had never done it before?
I think most of these
think
folks,
most
but
of-
maybe the younger ones,
we have
not
two
as
little-
much.
we have 3
right?
little girls.
Yeah, we have 3 little girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're little girls that are playing Bielka, Sprinza,
and then one
yeah.
of the little town girls.
Yeah, and we have a couple that hasn't been on the stage in
That's right.
like 35 years, and they're
He's playing the rabbi and she's playing
Grandma Zeitel.
Zeitel.
Yeah, and Shandel, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So-
that's Phil and Sam, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But anyway, I cut you off. I'm sorry. So we're starting to talk about the story itself, for people not familiar with it.
Okay.
Well, essentially, you know, there's a one-act play that I love that I want to do is like 20 minutes long, and it's called Us and Them. Okay. And I look at as soon as when I came back to where I had to direct it this time, I kept thinking of polarity, you know, that polarity. And I kept, you know, of course, you know, Tevye says, in the circle of our village, in the circle of our village, in this community, in this shtetl, where these people are so united together. And what happens is then at that particular time period in 1905, and this community, of course, they just happen to be Jewish, right? But you know, this polarity that just pulls us apart. But we as a society are constantly, as Tevye says, you know, everything's trying to, it's a balance. And the outside world, you know, things are changing. You know, Tevye says it's a new world. And so the daughters, you know, the daughters actually, they're pretty feminist, you know, because they're the ones that say, we don't want this matchmaker stuff. But I think ultimately is that why it's like, why can't we be friends? Is that the destruction that takes place for these people? I forget, it's done, Fiddler is done in Japan a lot. And some people, when they in Fiddler in Japan, they say, Fiddler is so Japanese, you know, and it's just that it's about a community that has been together, and then they just come in, and the wedding scene is torture in my eyes, when the Russian soldiers come in and disrupt the wedding, you know, and then eventually they have to leave on a tefka. And who knows what's going to happen when they leave. Is this still going on in the world today?
Absolutely.
It is.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. And so it just makes it so immediate. for us I'm gonna start to cry a
Well,
little
me
bit.
too. I can't
Get
believe you're
emotional
saying
anytime we
this.
do that.
I'm listening to this. Same thing too. I'm getting teary-eyed, just hearing this.
Yeah.
I've only seen the show, X number of times. I've seen the movie, the whole bit, but that's incredible that, just hearing the story is still emotional.
It is
Uh,
very, very, very emotional. And
Yep.
so anybody that would say to me, you're doing a Fiddler on the Roof, why? Oh my God, I'll tell you why. Because what's happening in the Ukraine right now.
Elsewhere, age limit, Frank, what age limit would you say it's appropriate for?
Oh, it's universal. I mean, the kids that come to see the show will recognize themselves in the daughter and in Vertucci and in Muddle. I mean, they're in Fiedka too. I mean, Fiedka's a Russian that marries one of the daughters. I think it truly is a timeless piece of work, and I think this will be around forever because, like Janice said, in Japan, they think it's their story. They think it was written about Japanese people.
Yeah.
And the Italians thought when my mother came to see it for the first time, she had never seen it. She says, "Oh my God, it's like they knew my family." Somehow they don't know our family, thank God.
And Perchik is the revolutionary. Perchik is the one who's saying, hey, somebody's got, in order for change to happen, this is what you folks
Right.
have to do, and we have lots of people like that right now.
Yeah.
So
Talk about the process, Janice, for folks who don't realize how much time and effort you put into it. That's why I love supporting live theater. I love movies, but I love live theater because it's unlike any movie you'll ever see. But talk about how much work involves. In other words, so you're going to only be for the 2 weekends, but you've been working at this now, you said a couple of weeks already. How much time do you spend each week on this?
well, you see, Blaine, I actually auditioned for the show. Okay, I was auditioning for Yenta. I
Right.
said, oh, I think I'm now at this age, I'm gonna write for Yenta again.
I could see it.
And then I was asked, I had to listen to the message a few times from will you direct it? And so, but as soon as I said yes to it, even though I had been in the show 3 times and directed already twice, I have immersed as he says, I'm a crazy lady with research. I immersed myself in research. So that was really toward the end of February, I guess, the beginning of March. So I've been working on that nonstop in terms of research to do right by it. And actually, I have learned more than I ever have learned before. And so when like this morning, I woke up, what's the first thing I'm doing? Working on the show and thinking about the show, especially as you plan this rehearsal schedule and you plan what scenes you're going to do, that kind of thing. Does that help you?
Yeah, and talk about, because again, a lot of folks don't realize it. So you're in rehearsal now, and the show opens up, trying to think, opens up
20th,
20th, so it'll be
20th, so
tomorrow.
a week from tomorrow. So this final week, how long are the rehearsals, or how often are they?
Pretty much our days have been, we go like 2 to 5:30, we get a break, and then we go 6 to 8. But I have this feeling that
gonna have to go
we're going to have to go longer. So sometimes in the equity world, right, it's
Right.
called you do a 10 out of 12.
Yeah.
So you work 10 hours out of 12 hours, kind of thing.
So it's nice. So today, though, I'm lucky to have you as my guest. Today you
Yes,
have
we're on our dark
This is our
day.
dark day.
a rare off.
And
We worked 7 days straight and we got this is our day off.
And I
Yeah.
say this will be probably the last dark day you have or coming up.
No, well, I think we have one other maybe dark day.
No, you have dry tech over the weekend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
And then we don't have time off. I mean, Janice is gonna be working. I'm going home to Connecticut. It's my grandson's first birthday, so I'm flying in for the night. I went, wow, and I feel like a big star doing one. I'll fly in and fly out. So yeah.
And it's like I love doing extra work, like getting props. So after
That's what we're
we're
gonna do.
done with you, we're going to look for some props. Yeah,
Yep.
that kind of thing.
So moving on, after Fiddler ends its run again, what a shame it's only these 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Do you have anything? I'll ask both of you. Frank, do you have anything lined up for the rest of the summer?
Not of now. I'm just going home and being dad and grandpa.
Grandpa.
Zeta, I think I'm trying to get him to call me Zeta, which is grandfather in Yiddish. And just spending time. I'm a big family person. My wife has 4 brothers and they have kids, and my niece is getting married, and another niece is having a baby. So it's family stuff. Family is important to me. And like I said, I just retired in October from my job, so I'm enjoying retirement.
Okay, and then
Although
come the fall, will you be acting again, you think?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll keep. I'm saying I'm starting to look at auditions now for the future, but I think for the summer I'll be home and I'm just kind of hanging out. I am going to go back to college because I found out that you can take classes at Southern Connecticut for free now that you're a senior citizen. And I think I may go back and take theater classes because I really haven't studied theater in a very long time. You take classes here and there, but no sit down theater class with theory and maybe take voice lessons at the college.
Because I'm listening to Janice, I would think also that'd be something you would consider, hopefully in the future, be teaching some as well. But I can even see a course in fiddler. Can you imagine? A community, a Con Ed course. Lessons of fiddler or something. But in all seriousness, wouldn't that be a great course? Talk about all you've learned and researched on it. It doesn't have to be a college course, but 8-week course, whatever. But I think you'd be a natural in that. Are you familiar with Ollie?
Yes, I am. I am very, very
Okay.
much so. I do volunteer work at the Weaverville Community
Okay,
Center,
that too.
right?
Right.
And I really enjoy doing that. I think a lot of people don't know that they have the Center for Creative and Healthy Living, and people can come and take classes for free. But
I'm saying,
so I do theater class, free theater classes there.
but I'm saying that would be a great course that, lessons of fiddler or something like that, because you've done so much research on it, just.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think I would probably with your, you just maybe make it like a musical, a
Right.
study about musical theater and look at specific shows that are like Fiddler,
Right.
in terms of message. That's what I would probably do.
And maybe we can even bring in Frank as a guest lecturer or something, come in from Connecticut just to do the one class or something.
I did that when Janice did fiddler with her kids in
yeah.
school. I came in for a weekend and kind of gave the kids some insight into the
Oh,
story and stuff. That was really helpful. I didn't get to see the show because the weekend the show ran, it snowed and then my plane got canceled.
bummer.
So I didn't get to come and see it.
Yeah, that's true. He did. It was very beneficial it was my mandatory weekend of rehearsal for my students. And he came that weekend and that was very helpful.
Love
for the
it.
kids.
One last time, Janice, if you would, the show is going to run from when to when and how to get tickets.
I'll give that one.
We opened Thursday, June 20th, and it runs Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday with I think 2 shows on Saturday. I think it's Saturday. And then the following week from the 27th to the 3rd, we close on the 30th with 2 shows on Saturday again.
And if people go to Sart Plays, I believe it is, and it's .com.
Yep.
And they can, if they just go right to the website, and then they'll just see, you can purchase tickets here, and that's the best way for you to purchase the tickets.
If I could just add to encourage people to see it, because first of all, not only is a great show, but you have a fine cast. It looks like you put together.
They're great.
I forgot to mention
And our music director, Elisa Baker, who just did
Okay.
Les Mis at T.C. Robertson, she's fabulous.
Amazing.
Yes.
And Karen Yao was in it also.
Karen Yao is,
Okay,
yes, Karen
we've-
is from Sarah.
We forget to mention Karen, but you get to see Karen Yao. And the nice thing about Sard, if you go see a show there, just about every seat is good seats. You'll see when you
You're
see the
right
theater,
about
Frank.
that,
It's a really cool
Blaine.
theater and a lot of
Yeah.
nice little restaurants in Mars Hill. So come up for the day, you'll have a blast.
Great.
Janice and
Yes.
Frank, it was a pleasure speaking with you as always, Janice. And I'll see you. I told you on the 30th. I think we're scheduled to come see the show. And I'll look forward to meeting you at that time, Frank, as well. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Blaine.
And
Thank you.
thanks also to my producer, Cappy Tassetti, and we'll see you hopefully in the near future. Thanks, guys.